So Juan Soto's met, and I'm devastated. Coming up. So first of all, let me apologize in advance because I don't have my equipment with me, and my microphone is not here with me. So we are going to talk about, unfortunately, one of the worst days in my fandom as the New York as a Yankee fan. I mean, just absolutely one of the worst days I could think of. And I am just beyond um, devastated. I mean, there's nothing else to say. I mean, Juan Soto was the guy. He was the guy I wanted last year, and he was the guy that was going to change everything in a 15-year World Series drought for the New York Yankees. And he did that. He was the big addition. He was the biggest difference between having your worst regular season in 30 years and making the World Series. He was that guy. And there's no sugarcoating around this. This is a terrible day for the Yankees, terrible day for Yankee fans. And I think you're going to see a lot of people trying to talk themselves into other alternatives, because we're trying to protect ourselves from the hurt that we really feel. And the reality is we were so invested in this guy being the dude. And we loved this dude so much. He was so fun to play. He was so fun to watch. It was so fun to watch him play, I should say. And it just seemed like every day was must watch baseball when he was playing. And he just had a certain swagger. He had the short porch and left. Yeah. So he had a left-handed batter, short porch and right. And Soto, it just seemed to fit so many perfect Yankee qualities we look for in a Yankee, and hit the big home run in the CS in Game Five versus the Guardians. I mean, if it wasn't for that, we're not going to the World Series. And I say we, like I'm on the team, because it's days like this where you feel a part of the team because you're just devastated. You're as devastated as anyone should be. And let's not stay away too far from this because this is a fantastic day if you're a Met fan. And the New York Mets did today what basically they have not done their entire history as a franchise, and that's basically beat the Yankees. Not just in winning the city over, because they did that in the 80s, right? They have their fan base. It's not like, oh, the Mets have no fans or anything. That's ridiculous. The Mets have a very passionate, strong fan base that has existed for a very long time, but they've been they've suffered for years as a fan base, and they had the cheapest owner forever because of the whole Bobby Bonilla situation, and you know, um, the money invested in Bernie Madoff and all that nonsense that ultimately prevented the Mets from spending big dollars. But now they got an owner in Steve Cohen who's willing to spend big dollars. And when he took over the team, yeah, some rocky things at first. There's the whole new owner thing where they want to make splashy moves. He made a trade for Lindor that has become in hindsight, looks fantastic. There were times where it didn't, but right now you could say Lindor has become one of the great, probably the best shortstop to ever play for the Mets. I think he's surpassed Reyes at this point. And I think when you look at it from a Mets fan perspective, it's like, yo, we didn't spend any money for years, and now we got an owner that's willing to spend, and he did it. He gave the biggest contract in baseball history. The Mets. Can you imagine 10 years ago telling a Met fan, yeah, you're going to sign one of the best players in baseball, and you're going to sign him to the biggest contract given in sports? They would have told you you're absolutely insane because that just wasn't the Mets narrative for years. That was the Yankee narrative, and even recently the Dodger narrative. Not anymore. And I think if you're a Met fan, I had some Mets fans. I recorded a reaction to this, and I had a Met fan talking to me like I'm still kind of mixed on it. No, no, no. You should be thrilled. I don't even care if Soto doesn't work out for the Mets, which I highly doubt. He's going to be there 15 years. He's a tremendous player, in my opinion, a generational player. Guy who just is just in the box is just incredible. Has best eye in the league, in my opinion. And the thing is just This doesn't happen often. And if you're a Met fan, you should be nothing short of ecstatic to be a fan of this team right now. For years, it didn't feel that way. I mean, not even years. Go back months ago. Go back with Jorge Lopez throwing his mitt into the stands. Were you proud to be a Met fan? How many people were laughing hysterically at the Mets, thinking like, huh, they actually think they're getting Soto. They're getting Soto. They got Soto. They did it. They recovered very nicely, something I thought they were capable of doing. But even amongst my wildest dreams, you know, them doing what they did was absolutely insane. I mean, the fact that it seemed like their season would be over constantly throughout the season, and yet they still persevered. And they lost to a better Dodger team, which, by the way, they played better against than the Yankees did. Even though the Yankees, in my opinion, had a more talented team. Listen, championships are not always won in the off season. Sometimes they are, I guess, but they're not. They're won not always. I should say. They're one on the field. So I'm not here to crown the Mets just yet, but this is a significant day. And I know, like from a Met fan perspective, I know how this feels like because in 2019, for a year, I was told Katie and Kyrie, they're going to the Knicks. They're going to the Knicks. They're going to the Knicks. And the whole year, I was like, doesn't make any sense for them to go to the Knicks. It makes sense for them to go to Brooklyn. And they did. Now, it didn't work out. I'm not even going to try because there's some Yankee fans that are also Knick fans who are going to try and tell you, like, well, that happened in 2019 with the Nets. The Knicks are in a better situation now, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a completely different situation. Juan Soto has won a championship, and I don't think he's drama, such as Kyrie. I think they got their leader in Lindor. Like, he fits in with the Mets very well. I mean, you replace Starling Marte and Tyrone Taylor basically um, with Juan Soto. I mean, he fits perfectly. And if I'm the Mets, it's like might as well just bring back Pete Alonso, give Soto some protection, bring back these dudes. There is a gripe I have with this. I believe Juan Soto went for the money. It's very clear he still stayed in the New York market, and he just went across town. And the Mets fan base is a great fan base, and um, he liked the Mets and what they had to offer. I don't buy this BS. And I'm not saying Soto didn't um, think this because it's been reported by Jeff Passan, who is the guy I trust, saying that he believed the Mets had a better future than the Yankees. To me, that's nonsense. The New York Yankees are in the playoffs basically every year, and it's a failure if they don't. To me, I would want to be with an organization with standards like that, to where they see itself as a failure if they miss the playoffs. The New York Mets haven't made the playoffs 2 years in a row. I believe in the history of their franchise. I could be wrong, but I believe that's the case. Now, it was a lot harder to make the playoffs back in the day, but now it's not. So the Mets have to prove that they can even make the playoffs 2 years, more than 2 years in a row before you tell me, oh, they have a better future. Yes, I believe they have a great GM. Yes, I believe they have a great manager. Yes, I believe they have an owner who's willing to spend. That's a great place to be for an organization, but you cannot convince me that the Mets have this way better future. Why? Because they had prospects that or younger guys that played good last year. This is baseball. This happens every once in a while. Like guys have hot years, lightning in a bottle clicks at the right time, and then stuff happens. Magic happens. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean that it's going to continue all the time, although I do believe the Mets are going to be good. But don't give me this nonsense that the Yankee future with Juan Soto was going to be worse than the Met future with Juan Soto in that lineup. Don't even try to tell me that because the Yankees, in my opinion, have the second best player in the league in Aaron Judge, and he would have been batting behind Soto, which is a big reason why Soto had a career year last year. So don't tell me that the Yankees they're just old and they can't. The Yankees have been old before. They have a history of making the playoffs pretty much every season. And say what you want about Brian Cashman, say what you want about Hal Steinbrenner, say what you want about Aaron Boone. That's been a consistent thing. Like a wild card appearance for the Yankees, honestly, like a failure to them. And That's what they tell their fans. We're gonna get to Hal and Brian Cashman soon, but I just want to round up talking about the Mets here. There is no question that, and they just signed Clay Holmes as well. It looks like he's going to be a starting rotation player. There's no question the Mets are better with Juan Soto, in my opinion. They are going to be expected to win a World Series now. That's just what it's going to be. It's not just the playoffs anymore. However, I do believe the Dodgers will be better. And if you're going against a better Dodger team, you're going against a Padre team that I think is going to be really good. It's going to be there, and the teams get better too. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's a guarantee or anything that, oh, the Mets are now going to go to the World Series. They're going to win a World Series. They're going to be very good. They're going to be in the hunt. They should be in the hunt every single season now. I trust David Stearns. I trust Mendoza. And I trust Steve Cohen, obviously, to get the guy now. If they need a dude, Steve Cohen's going to cut the check, and they're going to get that guy. That's how I see it. And I look at the Mets, and I just need to see that I think this season they need to have a year to show people that their second half of the year wasn't, I don't want to say fluky, but that they can continue to play that way on a consistent basis. They need to prove it. Hopefully, I would like them to if I was a Met fan, I would like them to re-sign Pete Alonso. And if you're re-signing Pete, Pete's locked in on a contract. He loves being a Met. Maybe not as much pressure to get a contract, maybe not as much pressure to stay with the franchise as last season. Maybe he's better. I think you got to look at stuff like that. Are you going to get the same year out of Lindor? I think you're going to get a very good year out of Lindor. I think with Soto there, it's going to be excellent. I think the Mets still have questions, but this team was in the NLCS last year, and now they just added a dog in Juan Soto. And Mets fans who are worried about long-term contracts, you're just finding ways to complain because I understand it, because you're a fan of a team that's been extremely miserable, for basically your entire life. This is not a moment to be miserable about. This isn't a Jason Bay. This is Juan freaking Soto we're talking about, and you're going to love watching this dude every day. And I cannot stress that enough. And as a Yankee fan, I don't even want to boo Juan Soto anymore. Obviously, I want to, but I don't even want to boo him because I know he's just going to stick it up our ass when it comes to regular season play in that Subway Series. I just know he's going to do it, and I don't want to deal with it. So now let's talk about the Yankees. Brian Cashman, Hal Steinbrenner. You missed out on this guy was in your locker room for this year. He was a huge reason you guys got to the World Series. Everybody was like, pay your guy, pay the guy, pay the guy, pay the guy. There are some Yankee fans that are talking themselves into like basically bracing themselves for, complete depression, saying, oh, he's not worth, no player's worth that amount of money. Da, 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 da. I believe he was. I mean, just look at all these teams bidding for him. He clearly was worth it. Here's the thing about, let me say this to those Yankee fans. I would get your point if Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman proved as of recently they can make it to the World Series without someone like a Juan Soto with Aaron Judge. And they haven't. They just haven't proven that recently. I mean, I just look at that, and that's a big deal to me. So here's my reaction to the Hal Steinbrenner, Brian Cashman thing. Today, you should be very upset. These guys gave up prospects. Michael King. The prospects turned into Dylan Cease. Michael King. Okay, stud pitcher. For 1 year, this guy. And now you got nothing. Now you got nothing. Now you have flexibility. You're like, oh, you just got flexibility. And yes, it's true. Baseball's not one. You don't win in baseball with one guy. That's very true. However, do you trust Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner and Aaron Boone to manage? And I like Boone, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's this perfect manager. He's not. And there's a lot of sloppy play under him and accountability issues under him. There's just no sugarcoating. That's just really what the case has been. The Yankees lost the World Series this year, not because of lack of talent, because of sloppiness. That's the big thing with them. They were sloppy all year. They went through a really bad stretch. Again, here's what the Yankees need to do. You're not gonna replace Juan Soto. It's not gonna happen. And you're not gonna convince your fan base that, hey, these new additions are gonna make us a well-rounded baseball team. No, no, no. You're not gonna do that. You got to take this on the chin. You got to accept, hey, we lost a great player. We got to look at ourselves in the mirror. We got to look at how we do things. We got to question things. Yes, we're in the playoffs every year, but people still kind of see us as a joke because we haven't made it to the World Series. Or we made it this past year, but we embarrassed ourselves at home in Game 5 because of habits we refuse to take attention to or put attention on. We have to look at ourselves in that way. And you need to build a team that is no nonsense. You have to build a team that is tough. I would look at a Teoscar Hernandez. That guy's a winning player. That guy's a dog, in my opinion. You move Judge to right, or whatever you need to do. Make sure players aren't playing out of position to the point where they're hurting you defensively and also not giving you much offensively. You need to spend your money wisely, and you need to develop tough-minded talent. That's what the Yankees need to do. And in my opinion, they have not gotten guys. Listen, Josh Donaldson came in and you're like, oh, his attitude is going to bring toughness. But he was way too past his prime to expect him to honestly do much offensively for you. You need to get talented guys that are tough-minded players. And to me, Teoscar Hernandez would be a great fit for that. You have to continue to do that. You got to bolster up the pitching. You have to make sure this team, surrounded by an Aaron Judge, a Stanton that had an excellent year last year, an even better postseason, you have to build a team with depth and consistency. And yes, listen, the Nationals won a World Series once Bryce Harper left. The Astros won World Series after Carlos Correa. Here's the thing. That national team had Juan Soto. And now that's the problem. I'm looking like, you know who I'm looking like when I'm doing this. The thing is I am so upset today, and I just do not trust the Yankee regime to build a team that's going to bring you back to the World Series. Because listen, the American League is still the American League. It's not great. The Yankees may still get back to the World Series without Juan Soto. That still is possible. Are they going to win it? I would say no. But Hal Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman, you have not earned the trust of the franchise. You have not earned the trust of the fan base. When you lose Juan Soto, Yankee fans think, oh, it's over. The energy from last season, gone. The spark, gone. That's why you need to get guys who are going to be no nonsense. You need to get guys who are tough. You got to get guys who are consistent, guys who don't get hurt. You have to build a team. It's possible. You can build a better Yankee team without Juan Soto. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not. But I just don't trust Cashman and Hal and company to make this decision. I don't trust it. You have to prove the Yankee fan base that you could do that. You have to prove it. Because this is Bryce Harper, this is Manny Machado, this is now Juan Soto. Juan Soto feels worse because he was actually in your building and you had success with him. He's one of the best talents to ever play for the franchise. There's no question. And he chose the Mets over you guys. And I am devastated. And I'm sad. Because now I got to watch him play for the other pinstripes for the next 15 years. It's almost like a divorce, like my ex-wife or something. Like, still in my life. It's not like he went all the way to the West Coast and he's in the National League no. Like he went to the San Francisco Giants or something. Like he went to the Mets. Mets fans are in my life. It's a nightmare. And the only way you're stopping this is if you build a tough-minded baseball team with no nonsense that the fans can get behind. And you have to prove it to them. We're not going to just give you the benefit of the doubt anymore. It used to be like, even like, people rarely gave the Yankees the benefit of the doubt, I think recently, as of recently anyway. But at least you could say, oh, they were in the World Series. Oh, when Hal and Cashman want somebody, they get them, and they didn't get them. And they wanted Yamamoto last year, they didn't get him either. They wanted Ohtani, they didn't get Ohtani. They didn't want Machado that much or Harper that much, but they wanted the other guys, and they didn't get them. So we can't say that anymore. They wanted Juan Soto. They were in the ballpark for Juan Soto. And you know what? You could say, like, hey, if he didn't want to be a Yankee, screw him, screw him. I'm thinking those things too. I'm not going to be rooting for Juan Soto anymore. I mean, to me, Juan Soto is dead to me as a Yankee fan. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's a stupid decision because the Mets got a good thing going, number one. And number two, I'm not going to tell you that the Yankees are this perfect piece of art that Juan Soto didn't want to be a part of. I'm not going to tell you that because the Yankees haven't proven that they can get to the World Series without this guy. They got to prove to everybody that Soto made a mistake. They have to prove it. They got to prove it to everybody. If you believe Juan Soto should have stayed with your franchise, you got to give him a reason to regret that. And the way to do that is, I'm also looking at you, Aaron Judge. Maybe hit in the postseason, please. I mean, we love you. Don't get me wrong. Love you even more now because this guy clearly had no loyalty. Stanton, we love you too. Right? But Garrett Cole, maybe cover first base. These are things. We need the nonsense out. No nonsense. And that's got to go. And the only way I'm going to be interested, really, or I wouldn't say interested. I'm always going to be interested, but excited about the Yankees next year if I see the no nonsense gone. Because listen, you have bad stretches of baseball, right? But you have to limit those bad stretches. You have to show Yankee fans that you're tough. You have to show them that you're different. That's the only way. You have to show them that you can hit consistently. You have to show them that you're not going to make stupid errors in the field consistently or bad base running mistakes. You have to get rid of the nonsense. That's the only way I'm going to feel different about the Yankees next year. Because now you lost your guy, your second guy. You still got your guy, so it's not a complete disaster. I mean, in my opinion, it's a huge disaster, but it's not like, oh, they got nobody now. Like, Soto was it. Like, they can still make a good team, but I just don't trust it. So, I probably talk too much about the Yankees. But the reality is this is a devastating day. And I know Mets fans probably want to drink the Yankee tears more than more than most. Because now I feel like, and the Yankee-Met rivalry has always been somewhat fraudulent to me. Not like a complete fraud, rivalry. Like, Yankees don't like to lose to the Mets, don't get me wrong. But it always seemed kind of like a one-sided rivalry to me. Like, really, Mets fans couldn't stand the Yankees. Now, this rivalry, to me, this is the day that I know they win the World Series in 2000 and stuff, but the Yankees never looked at the Mets like, oh, those guys could really beat us. Number one, they couldn't beat us for a free agent. We're always going to be better. And this is the time where the rivalry has really begun, in my opinion. Like, this is truly the rivalry. Yankee fans, Met fans don't like each other right now. Like, if you're a Yankee fan and you're rooting for the Mets at this point, like, you're not really a Yankee fan. I mean, at all. Because they just took the prized possession. Like, if you're like, oh, rah-rah for them now. No, that's over. It's over now. Over. We can have, a clear view of things. We can have an unbiased perspective of the Mets, but you're not going to root for them. You're not going to pull for the Mets. Let's just say the Mets are in the World Series and they're playing the Red Sox. I mean, shut it off. I don't even really want to watch it. Because I hate both teams now. because of what the Mets just did. It's what Steve Cohen has done. And Mets fans love that. And good for you guys. You guys should be happy. There's not one Met fan that should be like, oh, we overpaid. No, no, no. Be happy. This is what you do. This is the price you pay. This is when you're in this situation, when you have an expensive owner and you want to be in for free agents. You can't say, oh, we never get big guys. We never get back with the Mets. We're always cheap. We're always this. And then you got an owner that finally spends. He gets you the guy and you're like, oh, it's too much money. Can't do that. Can't do it. There's going to be people like that who feel like, oh, it's too much money. No, it isn't. Juan Soto for 15 years, it's not too much money. You're watching the guy play his whole career. I mean, come on. So this is a sad day as a Yankee fan because I really love watching this dude every day. And that's something I can't lie. I can't say like, oh, we don't really. I'm not even going to mention the bad, the bad defense. Some people are like, oh, he's not a great defender. Oh, he's a bad base runner. No, 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 no. He's one of the best hitters we've ever seen. And he was ours. And our fan base loved him. And he was like, nope. Don't want to be here anymore. I want to play in Queens, in Citi Field. That's where he wanted to be. And Mets fans, you should be excited. And we'll see how the Yankees respond. If I were them, I wouldn't, I worry about 2014, when they threw money at Jacoby Ellsbury and Carlos Beltran and all these dudes, and it didn't do anything. Now, I think it's a little different because ultimately I think that core was just old and dying, and that team just wasn't that great. And a lot of injuries happen. In my opinion, this team, you got Aaron Judge there. Like, I think you got Cole there. Like, I don't think the Yankees will be in the playoffs, I think, and they'll be fine ultimately in regards to having solid regular seasons and, not throwing money stupidly. I don't think they're going to throw money stupidly. I just don't think they're going to build a better team than what they have with Juan Soto. I just can't tell you that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they take the advice of just building I know that sounds very vague, and I'm definitely oversimplifying it for sure. I'm not a general manager, but they got to do something. They have to buckle down. This has to be a lot of people are calling it a middle finger fuck you off season for the Yankees. Like, all right, you don't want to be with us? Fine. We're going to build this tough son of a bitch team that no one's going to want to play against. That's the only way. It's the only way you're going to win over New Yorkers or New York Yankee fans. It's the only way. Only way. So, hope you enjoyed my rant tonight. And I'm sorry about the microphone issues. And that's just unfortunately what had to be the case today. But I was at a bar with my girlfriend last night, and who was a Met fan. And when Juan Soto signed, I was drinking a Guinness, and I had to down that because, it's the only thing that can get me through that pain at the moment. We had a great Christmas day and holly jolly, all that, and ended in a depressing Irish bitter Guinness soaring down my throat as Juan Soto is being announced to be a New York Met. Living in the best time to be a Met fan right now, and I'm living in one of the worst times to be a Yankee fan right now. And I guess that's what happens if you were born in 2000. And your mom forced you to go to bed in Game 6 of the World Series in 2009 when you were 9 years old. And you had school the next day. Don't take these moments for granted. Mets fans, you should be happy. Yankee fans, let's take it on the chin, and we got to move on. That's all we got to do. That's going to do it for the JB podcast today, and I'll see you guys next time.